The moment you stop chasing people, something strange happens. The same people who ignored you suddenly notice you. The same people who gave you the bare minimum suddenly start respecting you more. The same people who barely valued your attention suddenly begin trying to regain access to you. And most people never understand why this happens psychologically. They think respect comes from pleasing people, from proving yourself constantly, from always being available, from showing people how much you care. But the truth is almost the opposite. People often respect you more when they realize they can no longer control your attention. And if you stay until the end of this video, you are going to understand one of the most important psychological shifts a person can make, why chasing people destroys your value, and why emotional detachment changes the way people treat you almost immediately. Think about how many people spend years chasing validation without realizing it, chasing approval, chasing replies, chasing acceptance, chasing attention, chasing people who already showed low effort from the beginning. And the painful part is, most people think this behavior comes from love, but psychologically, it usually comes from fear. Fear of rejection, fear of abandonment, fear of not feeling important enough. That fear changes how people behave socially, because the more emotionally desperate someone becomes, the more they unconsciously communicate, "I need your attention more than you need mine." And human psychology reacts to that immediately. Read that again carefully. The more desperate people become for attention, the less valuable their attention appears. That changes everything. Because now you begin understanding why some people lose respect the harder they chase. Have you ever noticed how some people completely rearrange themselves for others? Always available, always texting first, always over-explaining, always trying harder, always tolerating low effort. And somehow, the more they give emotionally, the less respected they become. That is not because they are bad people. It is because human beings naturally value emotional scarcity more than emotional over-availability. And this is where most people get trapped. They think, if I care more, people will value me more. But emotionally unhealthy people often do the opposite. The more available you become, the less careful they become with your energy. Why? Because people psychologically protect what feels limited. Think about attention for a second. Attention is emotional currency. Where you place your attention communicates value constantly. And when somebody gives unlimited emotional attention to people who barely reciprocate, they unconsciously lower the perceived value of that attention. This is why emotionally unavailable people often attract more attention socially. Not because they are better, but because emotional distance creates psychological tension. People chase what feels uncertain, what feels difficult to secure emotionally. And emotionally grounded people understand something most people never learn. You cannot force people to value you through overgiving. That realization changes your entire social life. Because now you stop trying to earn basic respect through emotional exhaustion. You stop trying to convince people to appreciate you. You stop chasing people who already revealed their priorities through their actions. And strangely, that is often when respect finally appears. Because emotional self-respect changes your energy completely. The moment you stop chasing, you stop communicating emotional dependency. That changes how people perceive you psychologically. Suddenly you seem calmer, more confident, more emotionally stable, more valuable socially. Why? Because emotionally independent people feel difficult to control, and people naturally respect emotional independence. This is why emotionally detached people often appear more attractive socially, not because they play games, not because they are cold, but because they are not emotionally collapsing over other people's attention constantly. That emotional stability creates quiet power, and people feel it immediately. Have you ever noticed how some people only start respecting boundaries after you emotionally pull away? At first, they ignored your needs, ignored your effort, ignored your kindness. But the moment you stopped chasing them, their behavior suddenly changed. Now they text more, notice you more, respect your time more. Why? Because your absence forced them to experience your value emotionally. And this is the painful truth many people eventually realize. Some people only notice your value when they lose consistent access to you. That realization hurts, but it also wakes people up emotionally. Because now you stop measuring your value by how much attention people give you. You start measuring value differently, through peace, through reciprocity, through emotional consistency, through mutual effort. That changes everything. And honestly, once somebody stops chasing validation constantly, their entire presence changes. They speak differently, move differently, react differently. They stop over-explaining themselves, stop begging for clarity, stop forcing connections that clearly lack effort. And people notice that shift immediately. Because confidence is often not loud. Sometimes confidence is simply not chasing people who are comfortable losing you. Read that again carefully. Confidence is not always dominance. Sometimes confidence is emotional restraint. The ability to walk away from low-effort behavior without needing revenge, drama, or emotional closure. That level of emotional control feels rare today. Because modern culture teaches people to chase constantly, chase attention, chase approval, chase relationships, chase validation online. Chase people who already showed emotional inconsistency from the beginning. And many people slowly lose self-respect inside that chase. That is why emotional detachment feels powerful psychologically. Because detached people stop making their self-worth dependent on external responses. They stop panicking when attention disappears. They stop treating rejection like proof of worthlessness. And suddenly, other people lose emotional leverage over them. That changes every relationship. Because emotionally grounded people become difficult to manipulate, difficult to guilt, difficult to emotionally control. And people respect what they cannot easily control psychologically. This is why chasing often creates the opposite result people want. The harder somebody tries forcing attention, the less naturally respected they become. Why? Because emotional desperation creates pressure, and pressure pushes people away emotionally. But calm emotional confidence creates space, and space creates curiosity. That is one of the biggest psychological truths about attraction and respect. People become more curious about emotionally grounded individuals. Why? Because emotionally grounded people are not constantly trying to prove themselves. They are comfortable with silence, comfortable with distance, comfortable with not forcing connection. And that emotional stability creates mystery naturally. Not fake mystery, real emotional security. That energy changes social dynamics dramatically. Have you ever noticed how some people become more respectful after realizing you no longer need their approval? That moment changes power dynamics instantly. Because now they realize you are choosing connection, not begging for it. And chosen attention always feels more valuable than desperate attention. That realization alone can completely transform somebody's relationships. Because now they stop chasing people emotionally unavailable to them. They stop wasting years trying to convince low-effort people to care. They stop abandoning themselves emotionally for temporary validation. And this is where real self-respect begins. Not in arrogance, not in coldness, not in pretending not to care. Real self-respect begins the moment you stop chasing people who are comfortable giving you less than you deserve. That is the real shift. And once somebody experiences that shift emotionally, their entire energy changes. They become calmer, more selective, more emotionally balanced, more difficult to manipulate. And ironically, that is often when people begin respecting them the most. Because respect grows differently than most people think. Respect grows when people sense emotional stability, boundaries, self-control, self-worth, not emotional desperation, not constant approval seeking, not endless chasing. One day you stop sending the extra message. Stop forcing the extra conversation. Stop trying to convince people to choose you. And suddenly, you realize something life-changing. The people who truly value you never needed to be chased in the first place. That realization changes the way you see relationships forever. Because now, you stop wasting energy trying to earn what should come naturally through mutual respect. And once you stop chasing people emotionally, you finally see who was only enjoying the attention and who genuinely valued you as a person.